little bit of a fist bump there for Christophe Soumian aboard Mouptahij in the UAE Derby, and things much more quiet and serene in the backyard at Belmont Park on a glorious Sunday morning. Plenty of blue sky, and we're off and running on this latest edition of the National Racing Report. Glad you're with us. Jason Blewitt, Andy Serling. We've got the MIG, Richard Migliore, stalking the pace on the outside. Bit of a Belmont Stakes lull considering we saw a Triple Crown win. That being said, this show's chock full of some big names.
Oh, we got some excellent races on today's card and some races that fit well together, and we'll sort of lead it out with a race we never got to show, heading towards Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, and of course that's now the next goal, or the next objective, I should say, here, and talking about the good filly, Lady Eli.
Right, unbeaten, overcame a world of trouble, unnecessary trouble, to win the Wonder again. We'll talk about that. That will be race number 8 of 8. And we've got that Stars and Stripes Racing Festival on the 4th of July. Get ready for it. We'll have some fireworks here at beautiful Belmont Park. The food trucks in the back, top-class thoroughbred racing, and a suburban appearance by last year's Belmont hero, Tonalist. But we do begin with the Stephen Foster Grade 1 $500,000, a race televised live in front of just under 30,000 people in attendance at Churchill Downs. It was live on NBCSN. Travis Stone had the call. We'll talk you through it, beginning with the break, and this was the re-emerging point for Lee after he was third in the Dubai World Cup.
Yeah, I thought there were a number of different themes in this race, Richie. I mean, one of them is that Lee probably needed the race a little bit coming back from Dubai, but he still ran well, and he still looks like a horse that could be a force to be reckoned with in some handicap races. Opportunity, maybe not as good as these. He also was off a layoff. Commissioner was atrocious, but the emergence of Noble Bird and Mark Casse, who's been having a very good week.
Yeah, Noble Bird, I think, is a horse that just took a long time to mature. He looks like a different horse now physically, and you could see down the backstretch, Sean Bridgman's trying to talk him out of doing too much. He's got a long shot in front of him. He doesn't want to engage too soon, but this horse is just towing him along, Andy.
No, I agree, and he had run well in the prep for this, the Ali Sheba. Bertonico was able to control the pace in that race. Bertonico didn't play here for whatever reasons, and I agree. Noble Bird was kind of in command of this race in a funny way because he had a target in front of him, a long shot that was going too fast and isn't good enough, and he was able to control those behind him. To me, Lee never looked comfortable until they got into the stretch at one point, and I think that makes me think this was a better effort by him than maybe it looks.
I think it was a good effort. I don't think Lee is happy being bottled up in behind horses until he got in the clear and then found his stride. But you know what? Let's give the winner his credit too. I think he was waiting on him a little bit, and maybe the margin of victory was a little bit deceptive.
Well, I wouldn't argue that Lee is much better than him just because he's coming off the layoff. I wouldn't want to take away from what Noble Bird did because I thought he controlled the race but ran very well in doing it. And I know you had said this about Lee in the past, and I never thought you were more right than in this race. It really occurred to me watching this, and I remembered you saying it a few races ago, that you're right. He should be out in the clear towards the front. Stop trying to rate him. Use his speed as a strength.
Well, he really broke running, but the pace was legitimate. But maybe if he had gone on a little bit more, he would have been the one laying second to the loose on the lead Paganol and been in control, and Noble Bird would have been in the position of stalking him.
Yeah, no, it's very possible. Whatever the case is, these are both good horses. You have to imagine they're both considering the Whitney as their next goal at Saratoga. When you think about some of the horses we saw in the Met, Tonalist, obviously Honor Code, even a Wicked Strong who had trouble in the Met, that Whitney is shaping up as a very, very good race.
This is a question for the two of you because you guys pay a little closer attention to this, but this was a very fast time. It was only 2/5 of a second off the track record. Was the track playing considerably, fast last night?
That's a good question, and a question I probably should have looked more into, and I haven't seen the speed figures. I'll tell you what, it came up a much, much faster race than the Matt Winn, probably a good 15 lengths faster than, even though the Matt Winn, those horses aren't nearly as good as these. I still think that transfers to a good 20 to 25 buyer points higher, so those horses ran an 85. I haven't seen the figs. I don't even know if they're out yet. I wouldn't be shocked if this race got a 110, and they ran much better than the fillies, Jay.
And just look at the gap between the top two and the third place runner, Opportunity. It was a literal chasm.
Yeah. No, that's a very...
And then back to the fourth horse as well. I mean, they really did spread the field out.
Well, you look at the time to this, and we'll watch the filly race a little bit later, the Fleur de Lis. It was a good 8-9 lengths faster. I mean, that's going to transfer to 12 to 15 buyer points higher. So if they ran the 90s, I mean, all these things are pointing out to this being a very strong race.
And a new Grade 1 winner for the sire Birdstone, who has the Stephen Foster the Kentucky Derby with Mind That Bird, a Belmont Travers and Gold Cup with Summerbird. Not bad for a horse that's standing for 10,000.
He's had some good horses.
Indeed he has. Let's move on to the action here at Belmont Park. Beautiful Saturday afternoon, our first Saturday, Sands American Farrow taking down the Triple Crown. We had a nice crowd on hand. They were betting with both fists, and the poker winners race number 5, in which King Creasa won this race for the second time.
I am trying to figure out what the heck Luis Saez was doing, whether it was instructions or his own thinking, that he strangled down Heart to Heart, a horse with significant speed, and tried to sit second to King Creasa and allowed that one to control a race he had no business controlling. I believe it badly hurt Heart to Heart's chances, and it dramatically changed the dynamics of this race.
I agree. Completely changed the dynamics of the race, and actually asked Dave Donk the day before the race about this. It looked like a lot of speed. Can King Creasa effectively rate? And he said, I think he's better on the front end, but he may have to rate tomorrow because it looks like a lot of speed. If you'd have told me they were going to go a half in 47-3, I would have laughed at you before the race. I can't believe 47-3 is slow for King Creasa.
Yeah, well, not only that, a second quarter in 24, and King Creasa is up by a length and a half, 2 lengths. He isn't up by a head. I don't know what the heck is going through these riders' minds, and I'm just seeing it too much, and it's changing the dynamics of races, and I think it is hindering the chance of speed horses, and it's also obviously hindering the chances of closers.
Well, King Creasa is just a quality horse that if he gets things the right way, he's capable of this. He ran a mile in 33-2. How are you going to run him down when he's coming home in 22 and change?
And why would you take away your weapon, your best weapon with Heart to Heart, who ends up finishing 7th? Now, Vijak ran very well first time in the grass for Bill Mott. What did you think of Il Campione's effort the first time in this country for Chad Brown?
He appeared to me to need a race. He looked like a horse that needed a race. He was caught wide every step of the way, which is a difficult thing to do, especially coming off the layoff, and he ran on evenly. I think this is a race he can really build on, but I also want to see him use more of his speed. All of his races in South America, he was on the pace.
Yeah, I don't understand why. It's like you used, and I've joked about with Alan Jerkin saying, changing evolution. We have seen a noticeable change in the paces over the last 5 to 10 years, where the dirt sprint races, the early paces are a half a second slower consistently. I don't think it is helping the game, and I know that it's hurting horse players who are not happy about it.
Well, because you're looking for a race to be run a certain way, and then it's coming up completely different. And you know, for myself, going into this race, I thought for sure they're going to go 46.
They're going to cruise. And keep in mind, this has been a spring-summer meet at Belmont with no rain whatsoever. Both of these turf courses are as firm as they can be, and 47-3, just under 48 in a one-turn mile on the Widener, really is walking, and a good horse will make you pay, and King Creasa did just that. And as we mentioned, King Creasa, the training job, I get he was able to slow things down by himself, but 6-year-old, and he's had lengthy layoffs, he's had documented hoof issues. David Donk and his crew really did a nice job having him ready to go.
No, I agree. I don't want to get too caught up in that and not give the due, and I'm glad you said it to King Creasa. He's a wonderful racehorse, and he's what makes racing great.
Oh, absolutely, and we get to see, especially it seems like these New York-bred geldings come back time and time again, you know, year after year, and it builds a fan base for them, and he's just under $1 million in earnings now. Kind of pays to own a New York-bred.
And a horse who won this 2 years ago as well and
Yeah.
comes back, and to have come back after that kind of gap, it's pretty amazing.
We had King Creasa at 36.80. We have got a long shot French bred who's going to get it done in a furious finish beneath Rafael Bejarano out to the West Coast. Short field in the Grade 1 Shoemaker coming up. We're back on the National Racing Report. This is MSG Plus from beautiful Belmont Park. We are on the second half of the spring-summer meet at Belmont Park. We've run over 30 cards. We're closing in on opening day, Friday, July 24th at Saratoga Racecourse. And I'll tell you, Father's Day. How about bringing Dad out here? Don't leave him here, but can't help but have a great time at Belmont Park with Dad on Father's Day.
Father's Day outside of Belmont Stakes weekend, it is our most busy day of the entire meet, and it's always a fun day and a lot of good stuff going on.
It's great, and you know how many of us got our introduction to racing from our fathers or grandfathers. Mm-hmm. It's a great thing.
He had to drag me here. That's the way the story goes. My dad had to literally drag me here to spend a day with the family at the races, and it worked out. And how about this? We'll have a $100 paddock visit and watch a race for the from the winner's circle on Father's Day, and this benefits the racetrack chaplaincy. A good crew back on the backside, and they do tremendous work.
No doubt about it.
All right, let's move on. We've got the Grade 1 Shoemaker coming up, field of 5. And we'll pick this one up from the gate that eventually had a late-running French-bred winner in Telco.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected Midnight Storm was coming off a huge allowance win to be the speed, but Martin Garcia had other ideas, and it's nice to see somebody be a little aggressive.
He came out running. It seemed like Tyler Bays was content laying second. Winning prize only got beat 2.5 lengths for everything, so he ran a big race at a big price. And then I understand the rival trainer of the runner-up, Phil D'Amato, was upset with Martin Garcia, who was riding for Neil Drysdale, with his tactics. You can't tell someone else's jockey how to ride their horse.
It's one of the craziest stories, Jay, I've ever heard.
No kidding. Can you recall, Mig, in all your years riding, that a rival trainer after the race came up to you and essentially wanted to fight you because you did something?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, okay.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah,
Probably unfortunate for a lot of people.
Yeah, it just, you know, one of those things where emotions run high, and if a guy thinks you're doing something on purpose, but this was...
He went to lead.
He was
trying to win.
He was trying to win the race.
Oh, my God. I can't believe that gets back to our earlier discussion. The huge disappointment, in this race, is Bala Bali, who was the horse that had come from South America that was impressive with a very good ride and winning. He was dreadful in this race with a perfect trip.
He had a perfect trip, has every opportunity here, but you could see he's empty. And then the eventual winner, Talco, moves up inside, eases out for the stretch drive. Perfect ride, perfect trip. And Midnight Storm fights back, but I think he just was second best on the day.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. He had no excuse to lose this race, and if he's not able to sit off a fair pace, they weren't even going that fast, then he's just not good enough to win it. He can't expect them to always get everything their own way, and that's another thing that annoys me. It's like they got everything on their own way, and if they don't, they're going to be annoyed that they didn't get that trip. Seek again. Has he lost a step? In my mind, he's a horse that just wants to fight between horses or inside of horses. He is not good out in the clear.
He is so much better when he's in trouble. And some horses, just from a mental standpoint, they get their blood up. They actually get angry. I mean, Artie Schiller was a little bit like that. When he got bounced around or in tight, he would really kick. Seek again, his best races is when he's covered up, in trouble, finds a seam, and explodes for 1/8 of a mile.
Yeah, maybe he didn't feel any horse, and you like the general trip he got from Jose, and I can't criticize the specific ride, but in this case, I wondered why he was sitting fourth. He could have cut the corner and done that with a horse that's always been better inside of horses. You wonder if he had done that, if he would have run better. Maybe not.
I still think he's lost a step.
So
He was never a King Juddmonte horse, so to speak, but I don't think he's as good as he once was, say, a year and change ago. I really don't.
Well, that's even more reason, though, if a horse has lost a step, to take every edge you possibly can, because they're not good enough to give away the ground.
All right, we'll see what Belmont does with Seek again. Maybe the 4-star Dave going forward. I would imagine if that's the spot they pick out for him, he'll meet a few horses that ran here Saturday in the poker. But let's get on to a multiple champion and Eclipse Award winner in Beholder, who met a good one in Warren's Veneta, and Beholder made it 2 for 2 in her 5-year-old campaign.
Yeah, I felt like the good Warren's Veneta showed up for this race, and Beholder essentially toyed with her. I just want Beholder to stay sound, Richie.
That's the problem. It seems like that either she stays sound or gets sick. I mean, it's one or the other. It seems like her constitution just isn't as strong to get that, full kind of schedule, full campaign in. She's brilliant. I mean, Warren's Veneta threw a big punch at her turning for home. I mean, came at her with a full head of steam, and I agree with you. She was just toying with her, and Gary Stevens just used enough of Beholder to secure the victory without using too much of her.
Yeah, no, she really did kind of toy with her. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean she could have won by a lot more. She's a superior horse to Warren's Veneta. Doesn't mean under certain circumstances Warren's Veneta couldn't beat her. And I was glad to see Warren's Veneta bounce back from the subpar effort when she lost as a short price in a small field. But Beholder, you watch her run and you enjoy it, but it's frustrating too because you want to see her run more. The game needs horses like Beholder, and that division is crying out for somebody like Beholder.
Well, think if it frustrates us, how much it must frustrate the connections. Richard Mandela. I mean, because it seems like every time they got her stepping up to the next level again, something stops her. I love what Gary Stevens did, though. She was a little bit keen the first part. He dropped her head, let her go on a little bit, and then eased her back. it's nice when you see a rider get so in unison with their horse that they're not fighting with them.
Yeah, no, he has such confidence in her. Here you see her coming the stretch, and watch Gary and the confidence, and Warren's Vanita and Tyler Bays in an all-out drive, and she's getting to her a little bit, but Beholder's too good.
Yeah, she's too good. And you know, we talk about American Pharoah, how efficient his stride is. I think this filly's got just as an efficient a stride. She does things so effortlessly, and she never misses a beat. Like, if you watch a horse train in the morning and see them move like that, that's the kind of horse you'd want.
No kidding. But it goes back to what, Andy, you brought up a couple minutes ago. This division is crying out for a leader because there's just been so much parity, and you don't need to look far here at Belmont Park. Even last week's Grade $1 million Ogden Phipps, in which I walked away saying Wedding Toast is good, and Untappable, quite simply, isn't the same Untappable, perhaps, of last year.
I can't make any argument with that, Jay. And I understand people, and I'm not going to fight the argument that say, well, Beholder's the best horse in the division, but she's got to be on the racetrack and winning races consistently before you can say she's the true leader of this division, because winning an ungraded stake is just not going to do it. And right now, Wedding Toast is probably the leader of that division.
You know, I didn't think about it, but probably Wedding Toast is. I mean, off of the effort in the Phipps, I mean,
it's the biggest race so far this year.
And she was dominant. It wasn't even a close race.
Yeah.
That was a win, never in doubt, underscores Kieran McLaughlin and just the overall, I think, ability of that Godolphin homebred by Street Sense as we keep it going. We've had one winning favorite, guys. Short prices, chalk players have not done so well this far on the racing report, and we'll keep the bombs going after Beholder scored at a short price. Frivolous tracks the pace on the outside in the Fleur de Lis and gets it done beneath John Court at 66.20.
I had bet the Yawila, the horse who's in front here, was the one bet I made on this Foster card, and I thought she ran okay to be fourth. And Frivolous, you know, you look at her, and I know she had won that Fall City, so you thought maybe she's one of these Churchill horses, but she's not. She's 1 for 5 at Churchill going the race. She's been atrocious in her last 2 races. She was beaten 20 lengths last time when she ran a La Troyenne, but once again, she is most effective when she is on the pace out in the clear.
No doubt, and she got that trip, but she also came out of La Troyenne with a temperature. She was sick out of the race, so you've got to forgive her that. But she's another horse, big, long stride. Don't get in her way too much. That's one of John Court's gifts as a rider. He doesn't get in a horse's way. He allows them to do what they do naturally, and she's just a big, rangy mare that's very comfortable here.
And they're not going slowly. They go 23-3, 46-4, and these are fractions that were similar to Stephen Foster. But once again, it's how you're running. It's like you say, it's not how fast you're going, it's how you're going fast. She's comfortable doing this. If they had rated her and sat back 5th or 6th, she would have gotten nothing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And this is, even here, he's allowing her to go on. He's not trying to throttle or let horses get back on top of her. That's my biggest pet peeve lately, when guys keep taking a hold until someone's right on top of them.
How can that be good to have other horses surrounding you when you could be out in the clear and in front by a couple lengths, and you're using a little more energy, but you're comfortable?
You're free. You're not being inhibited or having any kind of pressure or even body contact, which slows horses down. I thought she was good. I thought Sheer Drama just kind of hung.
I don't know, 1 1/8 maybe stretching it for her. I'd love to see her around 1 turn. I think she'd be more effective in those 1-turn races. She got pretty good, but she's just okay. Same thing for Tiz Windy and Frivolous. She was a controlling winner this race. I think she was drawing off a little at the end.
Yeah, these horses, big field, big long shot winner. I think at the end of the day, they're all just kind of average in this division, even though there's no clear leader, perhaps outside of Wedding Toast.
And you look at Gold Medal Dancer, the horse who upset Untappable earlier in the year. She was an absolute no-factor 6th with a very good trip in here. She didn't run a step. There's no consistency from some of these horses.
If we were doing a trips and traps on Churchill Downs, though, I would ask you to look at America. Hopped at the break, got completely left, was trailing well out of the race, and I thought did good to even get back in the race at all. I think her race was sneaky good.
I don't think it was terrible. I just wonder if she'd be better suited to different kind of races. I could put her on the turf again or something. I just don't think at the end of the day she's ever going to win one of these big races.
Okay. And she's the number 1. She was off a bit slow. Easy to spot Silks of owner Bobby Flay. America trained by Belmont. I would imagine a horse that has a date penciled in for Saratoga Racecourse. The start is very key as we stay at Churchill Downs and get on to the 3-year-olds in the Matt Winn. Number 5, Fame and Power, off slow, and he found himself in an unfamiliar spot, Mig.
Yeah, I mean, he hops, gets squeezed. Now he's rank, and boy, what a bad feeling when you've got a horse that is as strong as he is, and you're running up on heels. I mean, Victor actually did a really good job of not checking out of there completely because he's all on top of horses' heels here.
Yeah, he gets all of the glory for American Pharoah, but in a lot of ways, this was a better ride than any of the ones he gave American Pharoah because he's faced with incredibly adverse circumstances, and he does a tremendous job of getting this horse to relax a bit, getting him inside of horses, and getting the best trip he possibly could under the circumstances. I thought this was a great ride.
I did too. I mean, he was dealt a horrible hand off the break, and believe me, when you've got a horse, I mean, they're 1,000 pounds, and they want to run, and you got horses in front of you, and they've never rated like this before. It is a scary situation because you're all up on heels, and he finally got him. I mean, he's still pulling, but at least he's got him in here. And the winner just got everything his own way. If you'd have said they were going to go 48-4 and Fame and Power wasn't going to be dictating the pace, you couldn't have foreseen this.
No, you would have thought that he lost the rider, actually, at the start, or there was something worse than that. And they're going slowly. You compare these paces to the pace we talked about in both the Foster as well as the Fleur de Lis. Now, he gets a very good trip after that. And let me ask you a question. Do you think he still should have won the race?
No, because I think the winner on the inside ran, and I think the inside was probably a little better place to be that on the night. I thought the inside speed was doing better.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings about that. The two of the horse who wins, it looks like he's dead beaten in third here. There's some bumping going on. I thought they made the right call not taking anybody down here, even though the pan, it looks like the 5 comes over. But I think the horse who was third was finished at this point. It's amazing he comes back. I agree. It's not surprising that Fame and Power lost under the circumstances, but he got in a position to win it. He ran very well. He is a horse, though, that was dressed up by circumstance in his race at Pimlico, where he had everything go his own way on the front end.
When he got to dictate things, and I'll give you one more thing to think about. He is lugging in here. He has shown that propensity to lug in before. When he's on the lead, he's on the rail. The rider doesn't have to continually correct him. He had to correct him several times here, and to not bother that horse in between them.
I also, it's interesting you say that, and he's out of his comfort zone. But if you're going to be a really good horse, you've got to be able to win out of your comfort zone. At the end of the day, this was a pretty slow race. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying, he was the best horse, Fame and Power. Anybody that's arguing against that is completely wrong. I know you agree. But at the end of the day, I don't want this horse going forward because if he meets some real speed in his other races, he's going to have trouble. I think he's a horse that's just talented, but he's not really that good.
I tend to agree with everything you're saying, but I wonder a race like this, getting left, getting in that situation, dirt in his face, if you wouldn't be more inclined to cut him back now and try to make one run in a race like the King's Bishop.
King's Bishop, 7/8 for him at Saratoga is perfect for him.
That's a very, very good point, and especially that division, which at this point is wide open.
It was Julian Leparoux with the upset and the Matt win. He'll score at an even bigger price on the turf with the 3-year-old fillies in the Regret. All right, we're back on the Racing Report. We are down to one double. One from Churchill, one from Belmont. We stay with the 3-year-old fillies, however, on this final segment. Here's the break of Saturday's Regret.
Lady Zuzu breaks about a step slow. I think the chart is wrong for pointing it out. I thought Robbie Alvarado did a very good job in not being overly aggressive. The problem is she is a horse that I think can only be effective on the front end. And the way the race played out, I think she was best in here. But the break didn't really cost her the race,
I don't think so either. And she did get to marching on, but I think he did the right thing also not getting in her way. I appreciate when a rider doesn't fight with one. At least she's using her energy going forward, not going backwards.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right, Richie. Imagine if he had been fighting with her after that start, dragging her back in third, not running free. She had just run last year. She would have sulked, and she would have gotten nothing. As it was, she took a pretty brutal beat, as you're going to see it here. Man, this stretch got long.
I was thinking the amount of horse players at Churchill are playing the race at home or in a simulcast place that must have been screaming wire for Lady Zuzu. You got to single, then pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 3s, screaming, and that wire is just taking forever to finally get there.
No, I totally. Yeah. I didn't even bet the race, and I'm watching it at home. And I'm screaming wire.
Yeah. Most racetracks, too, the wire would have already come. The wire's set so far down at Churchill Downs. And, Prado's sweet ride. Got a pretty sweet ride. She was forced wide, but she came running with Julian Leparoux, who just seems to me to be a different rider in Kentucky than anywhere else. He just doesn't seem to make any mistakes there.
He's also been having a much better year this year, and it feels like he's gotten some of his confidence back in general. Won the stake here last weekend for Mark Cassian. Hopefully he'll come to Saratoga with that confidence and have a more successful meet, because I know that you would kind of agree. He takes a lot of unfair criticism.
No, he does. But
he asked for some of it, but a lot of it's unfair.
Well, I rode with him in California, and he's always a good rider, but he just seems like, and I think you're right. It's about confidence. He's just so confident, and he's getting good opportunities. His agent Steve Bass does a great job getting him on the right kind of horses, and he seems to excel there, and that's his comfort zone.
Well, he's probably a bigger fish in a smaller pond. I mean,
of course.
Churchill, with all due respect, is not Saratoga Racecourse, nor does it have the kind of depth the Colony at the Spa has.
No, he's got to get mounts. And the other thing for riders like Julian or any of these guys, whether it's Robbie Alvarado, guys that come from out of town, Corey Lannery, you've got to win in Saratoga in that first 10 days. You have got to deliver, because if you don't, there are too many good riders up there, and people will not use you. Whereas if you get off to a good start, you'll start getting more mounts, your confidence will stay high, and you'll keep doing well.
Yeah, as we take another look at the start, I agree with you, and you quickly become yesterday's news if you don't get off winning, because they have too many other options.
Right. Too many good guys out there, whereas if you get off and you start doing well, people are going, let me ride that guy.
Yeah, no kidding. You need the momentum upstate, and one guy that's had momentum and plenty of it over the last few summers is Chad Brown, who grew up not too far from Saratoga Springs, Mechanicville, and we'll see his star unbeaten 3-year-old filly, Lady Eli, back on May 31st. The Triple Crown had yet to have happened, and we'll pick it up on the backside with Lady Eli.
And also Erod Ortiz, of course, who's a rising star in this game, who's running away with this Belmont meeting. What did you think of this ride? Do you think he was overconfident and he had to get a little lucky to win here, Richie?
Yes, absolutely. I think sometimes when you've never been beaten on a horse and you know the kind of acceleration they have, you'll tend to do things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. And one day that will bite you.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about that. And I think he was way overconfident with her. He didn't leave to get any sort of position. She really was never in a position to win. And because of her devastating turn of foot, I think she bailed him out.
No, I mean, this was an amazing run. To close into this pace, and the pace held together on the other two long shots here. She's the only one that made any kind of run, came home in 33 and change, and won fairly fastly, all things considered. And I had talked quite a bit with Chad about this race, because these mile-and-eighth races on the inner can be very, very tricky. And I said it's very important that he comes out running, because she's not slow. She was sitting right off of Sunset Glow's flank last time, so it's not as though her kick is mitigated by sitting outside of a speed. And if she goes forward at the start, it makes some others have to go a little bit faster, spreads the field out, so she can't get in trouble either way.
Well, either way, it works in your favor. Either they go on, spreads the field out, gives you options, or they don't, and you're laying second in a perfect position. There's no downside to doing it. And obviously, she's so talented. I still worry about the mile and a quarter because of that explosive turn of foot. Sometimes they don't stay, but boy, she got the mile and eighth well enough.
Right, you got to wonder until they do it.
All right, Stars and Stripes Day. Lady Eli tries the 10 in the Belmont Oaks. Tonalist, the Belmont Derby. We want you out here for Stars and Stripes Day. And King Creasa walked on the Widener Saturday, made them pay in the poker. Have a great night.